I'm now in the position to tell you why we pulled out of performing the Borstal Boy opera at the King's Theatre. The first blow was when Fareham College students pulled out whilst we were forming the cast. And we didn't really know why, except two members of the cast said they felt they did not have enough time to rehearse and that some of the scenes and words were inappropriate. Now, the background to this is that we had worked with Dave Courtney previously, and we had the view to tell his story as a punk rock opera. That is, to tell his life story as a punk rock opera. This, we hoped, would make the Asylum Seekers quite famous. But this failed simply because Dave Courtney did not appear at important business meetings. So we changed plans and reverted back to our original plan, which was to do Borstal Boy as a punk opera. Now, we already had Dave Courtney involved, and we had invited him to the auditions at Fareham College. He knew all about it. He knew about our change of plans, and he said, in spite of that, he said he'd agree to help us. He knew we were doing Borstal Boy instead of his story. We then recruited some other people to perform the parts in the play, and at the same time arranged for the Fareham and Gosport and Southampton scooter clubs and biker clubs to be involved in a ride-out on the day of the opera, to come as a ride-out through Portsmouth to arrive on their scooters, bringing the cast on the backs of the scooters and bikes. And Dave Courtney had agreed to ride his Harley Davidson leading the convoy. About 3 weeks before we were due to perform, Dave Courtney called me on the telephone to say that he was pulling out, was not going to be involved. And he said he was sorry, but asked for the telephone number of the guy organising the scooter convoy. Now, 1 hour later, the guy published on Facebook that he too was pulling out, that there would be no scooter convoy and they were not involved. Anyway, the next week I was in London and I called in at Dave Courtney's home to his surprise and asked him what was going on. He said that because we had dropped him from the project, and as he believed I had dropped him out of spite, he wanted to show me what spite really was. He said the show will not be going ahead, as he would or had contacted all the media that were involved to tell them certain things, and that he was not prepared to be involved with a show that was not about him, but about me. I then pulled out my phone, called Ben Fishwick of the News straight away and said, Dave Courtney's here, he's got something to say. And I gave Dave Courtney the phone and they spoke together. Dave Courtney said to Ben Fishwick, to my surprise, that he was having nothing to do with the show, that there was more to it than meets the eye, that child pornography was involved, and he was having nothing to do with it at all. I then called King's Theatre to speak to the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, to get Dave Courtney to do his worst, but could not get through. Needless to say, the next day, Courtney had tried to contact the CEO to discredit our show. I then wrote to the CEO at King's Theatre and the News telling the whole story, what had happened, so they know. Now, when the band found out what Dave Courtney had said and done, they decided to pull out of the show because they were afraid of any repercussions that Dave Courtney might do to them and discredit the band. So I had no other option but to go to the CEO at King's Theatre and tell him that we were pulling out due to production problems. So that's what happened. And I've since wondered, had Courtney ever contacted Fareham College saying the same sort of things? And was this behind the reason for them pulling out? Anyway, we have the opportunity now to perform our punk rock opera called Borstal Boy at HMP Aylesbury Prison. So if you want a part, please contact me.